Good morning, people. How are you doing? Are you getting by knowing that we don't have a Speaker of the House? Someone to lead the masses? Oh my God, it's chaos. So they said. I had other plans for video this morning. Clearly, they were revised yesterday. Didn't jump out and do one yesterday. I wanted to see how it all shook out. Yes, indeed. Today is October the 4th, 2023. And there currently is no permanent Speaker of the House. They have a temp speaker. Someone that no one knows, except maybe his parents and his wife and children. But aside from that, nobody knows who the fuck this person is. And here we are. Jordan Satchel is somebody who sometimes I agree with when it comes to things like COVID and fake vaccines and mRNA and shit like that. But the rest of the time, not so much. He wrote a screed talking about what a wonderful thing it was that the Uniparty has been fucking deposed as the Speaker McCarthy was, his removal is the righteous move to remove Kevin McCarthy as Speaker of the House. A move brought to you by Matt Gaetz, whatever his fucking name is. A far right, pure neoliberal fucking Republican, quote unquote. Who wants to do nothing more than bring about the IMF's fucking austerity measures upon the people, slam the economic brick down on the people of the United States of America. Bring the miracle of Chile and the miracle of the Asian tiger states to the United States. Just in order to see if it works this time around. Has never worked in the past. But just to see if it works this time around. According to Jordan Satchel, this is a wonderful idea. If for no other reason than to shake things up, to take that snow globe and shake it up and see what falls. See what how the chips fall after this. Gates was pissed, whatever the fuck his name is. He was pissed off in the House and he was screeching and people booed him. And he said, okay, that's fine. Boo me all you want. But I also know what you cheer for. And we have to have more fucking austerity cuts towards our fucking social safety net. And more austerity cuts towards all kinds of fucking programs that are beneficial to people in this country. Because we're writing checks for our children and our grandchildren to fucking pay. And then he made a promise to the Democratic Party that the new fucking speaker would continue to fund the war in Ukraine. Writing fucking checks for our children and our grandchildren to have to pay. That's the guy who brought this to you. That is, according to this guy, Jordan Satchel, was a righteous move. Let's explain a little bit about what happened. Let's try to take a second look at it from a bit of a higher altitude, more of a bird's eye view. Folks will have you believe that the GOP is just in chaos. It's ungovernable because the motion to vacate the speaker's position, the speaker's seat, came from Republican. And in fact, Republicans voted in order to get that done. They would have you believe, against all fucking, against the obvious evidence to the contrary, they would have you believe that the Republican Party is in chaos. Because Nancy Pelosi was never fucking removed from office. And there was very good reason to do so. Well, what's the truth of the matter? What's the truth of the matter? Where is the truth? Here's the truth. On the same day, Republicans issued a fucking motion to table the motion to vacate, which means not to hold the vote. Republicans voted 208 to 11 to table the motion to vacate, which means not to have the goddamn vote. It was only 11 of the 230 Republicans, however much that is. 208 plus that's 220 something Republicans. 208 of them voted to not hold the vote to vacate the speakership. That wasn't enough because every single fucking Democrat voted no to tabling the vote. And they had 11 defectors in the Republican Party. 11 out of 220 something. But according to the New York Times and a lot of other people out there, the Republican Party is in chaos. They had 11 vote to actually put the fucking motion to vacate to a vote. Then the motion to vacate comes up. 208 again Democrats voted yes to getting rid of Kevin McCarthy as Speaker of the House, to vacate his position. And only 8 voted along with them this time. And that, boys and girls, apparently was enough. Only 8 of the 220-something Republicans voted to vacate the office and get the seat and get rid of Kevin McCarthy. Only 8. And this, of course, means chaos. It's not chaos. The vast, vast, vast majority stood with Kevin McCarthy. What happened? Why did Kevin McCarthy have to go? Well, let's take a look. He claimed that he wasn't making good on his promises to the far, far, far neoliberal fucking Mussolini right of the United States, the Republican Party. The Mussolini right. The Matt Gaetz right. To make the economy scream to help big business right. Oh my goodness, what about the fucking debt? What about the national debt? Oh my God. By the way, if you think I'm making that up, here is the dossier with Jordan Satchel. And in it, he states, the last straw reportedly involved McCarthy making a secret deal with Democrats to continue funding the war in Ukraine. Why is that important? Why did all of a sudden the Democrats, who he fucking reached across the aisles and cut a deal with, Kevin McCarthy, in order to keep funding a stopgap measure to keep the funding of the U.S. government in place at a moment of crisis. Let me explain something to you. What was Barack Obama's whole thing? Oh, we got to compromise. What was Bill Clinton's whole thing? Oh, we got to move to, in order to win elections, we have to move the party of the left further and further to the right. We're now not we, I'm not part of the fucking Democratic Party anymore, thank God. But the Democratic Party is now right of Ronald Reagan. And if you don't believe me, you can just Google Barack Obama saying he ran the country right of Ronald Reagan. If he had been around, if he had been doing his policies back then, they would have been considered right of Ronald Reagan, and he's right. So why do they have to get rid of Kevin McCarthy? Why did the Democrats all of a sudden jump on board? Kevin McCarthy had worked deals twice. Once in May of this year in order to stop the default on loans. In order to keep the fucking country running in the fucking black, so to speak. And of course, the far right didn't like that. And then, of course, this past week, he ends up pushing through a deal with the fucking Democrats, and they signed on for it. And so did 128 fucking Republicans, by the way, to fund the government through a stopgap measure until they can work out a deal for the funding of the next fiscal year, the United States of America, which, by the way, the hero for so many people, like fucking Jordan Satchel here, he cut a deal promising if the Democrats all sign on board, he'll make sure that the funding for fucking the war in Ukraine continues. Let me read a little bit of this. I know it's Wikipedia, but I mean, let me read a little bit of this for you, because they're just giving specifics, dates, and votes. Just to give you a bit of an idea of what happened the last couple of weeks. Don't forget, it took 15 votes to get this guy confirmed as Speaker of the House in January of this year. It took 1 to remove him. 1. In a strict party line fucking vote with 8 Republican traitors voting along with the Democrats to get rid of him. 8 Republican traitors who are about the same thing as fucking, on par with fucking Mussolini in their economic ideologies. September 29th, 2023, McCarthy's bill to fund the federal government, featuring large government spending cuts and strict border policies, failed to pass the House after Democrats and 21 House Republicans refused to support it. If no funding bill was passed, a government shutdown would have occurred on October the 1st. So on September the 30th, the day before, McCarthy introduced a temporary funding bill without the large spending cuts, which Gates down here in Florida and his fellow fucking Mussolini fucking Republicans wanted, but also without the Ukraine funding. And that bill passed in the House with 209 Democrats signing on board with it and 126 Republicans. Whereas 1 Democrat refused to fucking sign that bill and 90 Republicans. The government shutdown was then prevented as the Senate and President Joe Biden both agreed and approved McCarthy's funding bill. McCarthy then told the media the Democrats tried to do everything they could to not let my government spending bill pass, which is ridiculous because all but 1 of them voted for it. But he was talking about specifically the first funding bill, not the stopgap measure. After funding the government with Democratic support, McCarthy said, if somebody wanted to remove me because I had to be an adult in the room, go ahead and try. So on October the 3rd, yesterday, 2023, Republican Congressman Matt Gaetz filed a motion to vacate the chair over frustrations of McCarthy's working on a bipartisan deal, which, of course, he then cut a bipartisan deal with the Democrats to get rid of the Speaker of the House and promised them to keep funding fucking Ukraine. The vote passed 216 in favor and 210 opposed, removing McCarthy from his role as Speaker of the House. This was the first time in history of the United States that a House of Representatives had been removed its Speaker from office. It tells you how they voted. It tells you how they voted. This guy has thrown the House into chaos. This has never happened before. But it should have. Full disclosure, boys and girls. I wanted this historic first to take place in 2007. But not with Kevin McCarthy. With Nancy Pelosi. You cannot find it anymore. When I searched the title of my petition, all I could find was this one, which got 39 votes on change.org, and this is from 2019. A petition to remove Nancy Pelosi as Speaker of the House. Mine received over 200,000 signatures. Not votes, signatures. This one got 39, I believe. Yeah. Their goal was 50. Woo! That's big. Mine's no longer here. However, I still own it. I presented this in December of 2007 on my website, and I put it up on one of these petition websites, and it was, I think I actually did a couple of interviews talking to people about it. Online petition to remove Pelosi as Speaker of the House of Representatives. And I carefully laid out in this the process by which to do so. Someone must come forward to declare the speakership, the seat vacant. And I talked about this process in here. And this is a bit of what I wrote. This is a 5-page petition. I'm not going to read the whole thing. In the event of a rogue presidency, the founders of our great nation provided for protections for us, the citizens, under the Constitution, in the form of a process called impeachment. Though rarely spoken, the word itself holds great power, and that it binds the president and his entire administration to the laws of the nation and makes them accountable to the people. As a constant threat, impeachment forces the president and his administration to work within the confines of our systems of checks and balances. Without impeachment, there is literally no limit to what a rogue president can do. The process has rarely been used. It has never been needed or justified as much as it is right now. And yet, Nancy Pelosi began her term as Speaker of the House of Representatives by announcing impeachment was off the table, thus giving the corrupt president a free hand in his last 2 years in office. Now, my point was, and probably better articulated in this article that I wrote and posted on my website, is impeachment our obligation? My point was this. Never before in the history of our country was it so clear to the public they might have been as corrupt, as fucking aggressive, as morally vapid leadership in this country than Dick Cheney and George W. Bush. But it was never as clear as it was in the 2000s, early to mid 2000s. So when Nancy Pelosi took over, and she had promised, insinuated that she would push for impeachment. And then when she became Speaker of the House, and first thing out of her mouth was, impeachment's off the table, in spite of the fact that Dennis Kucinich had brought articles of impeachment in late 2000 and early 2007 or sometime around that time, I sat back then and I watched C-SPAN. And I watched them try to table the impeachment proceedings in the fucking House, presented by a really left-leaning fucking member of the House by the name of Dennis Kucinich. And I watched the vote then as the motion to table failed. I watched, and it failed mainly because of Republicans. And then I watched as the vote started taking place, and it was a roll call vote, which means it takes a while for them to go through it, but then as it was going through, members of the House could change their vote. And the whole thing took, if you can find the video of it someplace, it's fascinating. The whole thing took about 2 hours to watch, and I live blogged it. I was talking about it on my website, which is gone now. But somewhere about in the middle of it, a very odd thing happened. Republicans started voting yes to impeaching Dick Cheney. The first one was about Dick Cheney. They wanted him removed. And then other Republicans came along and started changing their votes to yes. Then Democrats came along and started changing their votes to no. Had Nancy Pelosi been on board with the impeachment of Dick Cheney and then, of course, George W. Bush, the damage had already been done. 9/11 had happened. We had already started taking a walk on the dark side. The endless war of aggression, the global war of terror, the rise of what Hillary Clinton later called soft power, which was the special operations divisions that run fucking regime change and black op operations in other countries, color revolutions. A lot of these things wouldn't have happened, and we would have left Afghanistan and Iraq much earlier than we did. In fact, had that taken place, the idea that certain things would not be tolerated and that there would be accountability for certain actions, like lying to the American public repeatedly in order to stage a war of aggression against a country that had done nothing against us. That same war of aggression, that same fucking global war of terror, that same fucking soft power fucking influence in other countries continued unabated. With Obama, then of course with Trump, now still with Biden. It would have changed the course of history in this country, and subsequently other countries as well. So it could not be allowed. So the first thing Nancy Pelosi did was reassure her supporters, her real supporters, the military-industrial complex that lives in fucking San Francisco or is based around San Francisco and other places in this country, that she was not going to upset the apple cart. She wasn't going to be the turd in the fucking punch bowl. And so impeachment was off. And it was my intention, as some little fucking draftsman someplace from fucking Tampa, Florida, my intention to do what I could to remove her from office because there had to be accountability. Because never before in my life and never before in modern America has a president deserved to be removed like George W. Bush did and Dick Cheney did. Never. And that's a fact. And we've had some real winners since, but they pale in comparison as well. So it was my intention in 2007 to see if I could contribute a little bit to the removal of Nancy Pelosi as Speaker of the House by having someone vote to declare the seat vacant and put that vote out there. They never did. They never would have. What's interesting about this vote, now, I thought that it would take a vote of 2/3. Now, if they changed the fucking thing since then, that's fine. But, or maybe I was incorrect. Maybe it was just a simple majority. But here's a lesson for you. Here's an important lesson for you. If the same rules and standards applied then as they do now, the Republicans could have removed Nancy Pelosi at any time they wanted. Because they certainly could have cut deals with 10 or 12 or 15 fucking Democrats who didn't like her anyway because she's a tyrant, mama bear, as AOC called her. They could have removed her at any time they wanted. They didn't, because it's a one-party system. But just so you know, it's unique for me to see that somebody was able to snap their fingers and in 3 days' time remove a Speaker of the House with the express help of the opposition party. That's just fascinating to me. And it should tell you a whole lot about how our system actually works. Now, here's the question. Congress is in chaos. And everybody's telling you that on all the fucking news and all the fucking... Still, you go to work, you do your thing. You know, and I know, they will cut a deal. They will have to compromise, meaning the left will have to compromise and move the fucking country further and further to the fucking far, far Mussolini fascist right. In terms of imposing IMF, World Bank austerity measures and neoliberal fucking shock doctrine, economic ideology on this country, causing more pain, more hardship, more privatization, more bonuses for fucking CEOs, more profits for fucking stock market and for Wall Street, and less for us. That's what will happen. And of course, as Matt Gaetz promised, whatever his fucking name is, as he promised the fucking Dems in the House, he will make sure that whoever replaces fucking Kevin McCarthy will continue to fund the never-ending war in fucking Ukraine, which again is being done to destabilize westernized countries and make their economies scream. That's going to happen. There's going to be, of course, it'll be pushed right up to the last minute, in which case, of course, the left will have to, quote-unquote, compromise and give up more and sacrifice more that they don't have to worry about paying because they have nice, cushy government jobs with nice, cushy government pensions and nice, cushy government insurance, and all of their family members get the same fucking cushy government insurance. And of course, you know, if they want to and they fail at everything else, their children will be automatically granted a fucking nice, cushy government job just like they had. But they'll make the economy scream for us. What is the purpose of this? Why did they get rid of him? Why was it? Why show it as being so fucking easy, especially when fucking Nancy Pelosi's leadership was so contentious? I told you a long time ago, there was some guy named Joe something. What was his fucking name? Crowley? Was it Crowley? Everybody on the left said Crowley was this, and he was a fucking he was a corporatist fucking damn. And it's a good thing AOC. Jimmy Dore pushed those fucking lies for a year during her campaign, and then of course first couple months into her term, AOC's. The reality was there were a number of Dems who didn't like Nancy Pelosi, didn't like her leadership, didn't like how all the money that came into the Democratic Party in the fucking House had to be funneled through Mama Bear. And Mama Bear was the one who doled it out. She took a piece off the top. But all that fucking, those campaign finance fucking donations from big business, all that had to come through fucking Nancy Pelosi. So she ruled with an iron fucking fist. Joe Crowley, I believe that was what his name was, the representative from what became AOC's district. He was a number 3 Democrat in the House, and he was very popular, and he was probably the most, after they elevated Bernie Sanders up, which of course they don't do that if you're not fucking on board with the fucking program. After they elevated Bernie Sanders up and got Cynthia McKinney and Dennis Kucinich kicked out, he was probably the most quote-unquote progressive, left-leaning member of Congress, Democratic member of Congress. He promised that he would challenge Nancy Pelosi as Speaker of the House once he won again, once he was reelected. So Nancy Pelosi got together with her friends from K Street and her big money fucking backers, and they created Ocasio-Cortez. And then, of course, they rigged that fucking primary and got rid of fucking Joe Crowley with the help of people like Jimmy Dore, who, by the way, a big hero now, right on the left, big hero on the left. But that's why Ocasio-Cortez was created. That's why she was risen up, and that's why she was so devoted to Nancy Pelosi out of nowhere. Nancy Pelosi was the exact opposite of what AOC pretended to be during the campaign, just to go from the Bronx. She didn't like all the corruption in the Democratic Party. Then when she got in, with the help of Jimmy Dore and others, first thing she did was take a knee to Mama Bear, because Mama Bear made her. The fact is, they could have gotten rid of Nancy Pelosi at any time. At any time. And they didn't. They chose not to. It's a big deal. I thought there had been one, last night I was talking to someone, and I thought there had been one removed to Speaker of the House before, but apparently not. At least according to the New York Times, apparently not. Nobody had ever done that before. Why would they do it now? To cause chaos. Maybe he didn't want to bring, the full economic fucking economic ideology, paperwork or bill presented by Gates and the other fucking Mussolini fucking right Republicans to the floor and have it voted on or have it, debated and discussed. So they had to get rid of him because that's what they want. They want fucking chaos. I watched, there's a documentary, a short little documentary I saw about the situation in San Francisco, and like a couple of years ago, and they had Black Lives Matter, and it was, and everybody was turning on the whole woke thing, and everyone's turning on white man and straight white man, and it's just everything's going to shit, and it all happened about 2-3 years ago. Well, part of that was due to the fact that certain folks and certain factions were trying to destabilize the presidency of one Donald Trump. It's the same shit that we do, special operations does, in other fucking countries. We do our level best to make things miserable when there's a leader who's not taking the knee to us, taking the need to the IMF and the World Bank and to BlackRock and to Goldman Sachs. So that factors into part of it. But the other part of it is this. What ultimately they want, these fucking pure fascists want, is a destabilization campaign so complete that people in the country, the targeted countries, like the Western ones right now that are being done, this is being done to, lose all faith in everything. They lose faith in the FBI, they lose faith in the police, they lose faith in the post office, they lose faith in the local fucking school boards, you lose faith in the education system, you lose faith in the IRS, you lose faith in the presidency, in the office of the presidency, and in the administration, you lose faith in fucking Congress. You lose faith in everything. And then what you have, boys and girls, is the great experiment Abraham Lincoln talked about has failed. Then what do you do? Well, then you have a great reset, and you have a different program, a different idea, run by different people, unelected people, but people who are stellar pillars of the community, CEOs, CFOs, board of directors, chairmen, people who are unelected but who are successful. Because if you can run a business, you can damn sure run a country. And put them in charge and let them make the decisions. Make the situation scream to the point where people have no faith in anything. And now, all of a sudden, after all of that, after 3 years of all of that, after looting and rioting, after people being let out of fucking jail, after chaos, after drugs on the streets, and you have fucking people shooting up fentanyl and standing there like zombies bent over at the fucking waist as you drive down the road, as you leave fucking California, San Francisco, because even the left people are going, what the fuck is this? This is fucking crazy. And all of that is spreading throughout the fucking country. They're taxing you out the ass. We've got fucking Nazis. People are applauding in Parliament in Canada. It's fucking crazy. There's somebody with an option on the table. And you say, well, maybe that option's a better option. Let's try that. Let's be stakeholders for a while and see how that works. That's what you do. That's what the mob does, or used to do. If there was a business that was, profitable to them, and they looked at it and said, you know what, we could take over that fucking restaurant and that nightclub, and we could milk it for all it was worth, and we could fucking take all the money out of it, and we can get all these fucking loans and buy all this fucking shit and sell it out the back door, and then eventually at the end light a match and burn it up and get the insurance. Let's do that. But they can't convince the guy to sell it to him. Guy doesn't want to sell it to him. So what do? They fuck their goddamn business up until the guy has to fucking sell. Until the only way out for that guy is that fucking nightmare that he knows is coming. Is that what they did? Is that why the first time in our history the Speaker of the House has been vacated? The seat of the Speaker of the House has been vacated? For what? The Republicans didn't want the Ukraine funding in the goddamn bill. The Ukraine funding wasn't in the fucking bill. The Democrats, they didn't want all those goddamn austerity measures and those cuts to fucking funding. So the austerity measures and cuts to fucking funding weren't in the bill. So what happened? He had to fucking go. Guy who got shit done, not once, but twice. If you go back to fucking May, guy who got shit done, who crossed the fucking aisle, who got shit fucking done, had to fucking go. And now, all across the news, everyone's being told, even your fucking Congress is a fucking mess. We'll see what happens. We'll see who they replace him with. There's all kinds of talk. McCarthy has said he's not going to fucking run again. He won't be fucking Speaker of the House. Donald Trump, as far as I know, is playing it safe, not taking one side or another. But, you know, he's got his own issues going on. We'll see. I'll tell you this right now. I wouldn't be worried about a shutdown in the next 39 days or however long it is between the stopgap, when the stopgap fucking runs out of money. I wouldn't worry too much about that, but I would tell you this. They're going to be going after the social safety net. You know, Gates will get that out of it. And, of course, the Dems will get funding for Ukraine out of it. So, who knows? We'll see. Anyway, it is remarkable that this has happened. I showed you, I have my own little thing 16 years ago where I naively thought that if enough people signed the fucking petition, somebody would fucking put forward the motion to vacate the seat in the House, when it was absolutely deserved, as opposed to being done as a stunt like it is now. Nancy Pelosi should have been arrested, not just removed. She should have been arrested. And then the impeachment proceedings should have taken place immediately afterwards. There was reason to do it then. Now it's just a show. Now it's just a clown show. Anyway, that's my video for you today. I thank you for your time. I'll talk to you next time. Bye-bye.